Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
What time is it?
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Now Myers to win the league, yes!
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Werewolves of London.
Well, hello and welcome to the Below the Rim show, a show dedicated to the BBL. It's me, Pabs. I'm joined as always by my main man, Ads. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. Very good.
Good, man. We've got our northern correspondent from way up there beyond the border, the brave-hearted Mr. Grant Young. How are you?
From beyond the wall. I'm all right, guys. I'm tired but good. Can't wait to talk to you guys again.
Hooray! The super sub, who's no longer the super sub, but is indeed the media guru, Mr. Paul Nicholson. How are you, sir?
War. I'm all right. I'm good. I'm sound. I had a weekend without basketball, mate. So spent some time with the little one.
Nice.
Went to a basketball game.
Of course you did. Well, we've got plenty coming up on the show tonight. We'll talk a little bit about the disciplinary panel findings from Surrey Scorchers and what we can talk about that. We'll have a little chat about the trophy games that went on over the course of the weekend. We've got some Riders Bandoo chat. Obviously more changes at the Patriots since we spoke last. We're going to talk a little bit about MVP leaders, who's up there in the MVP race as we head into the second half of the season for most teams. I'll check the league table. Most teams are halfway at least, aren't they? And we're talking a little bit about the Daily Mail article that popped up recently and whether or not history actually matters. Just to let you all know as well, coming up on the podcast over the next few months, we're gonna be. Well, I've applied for media. I'm hoping these guys here have as well. We're going to be at the Cup recording some live podcasts. We're going to go live throughout the dunk contest. We'll do a halftime show throughout the men's final, obviously, and maybe even stick around and do a bit of a post-game debrief as well, see what we can do. February, we're going to run through some all-star selections for the BBL. Although we don't have an all-star game, we're still going to do it because it's a bit of fun, and obviously it's the NBA all-star selection and their game is around that time as well. So that seems like a poignant time to do it. In March, of course, late in March anyway, is the Oscars. So we thought we'd run an Oscars selection show. Now the premise is very much this: it's your opportunity really to pick your favourite players with no other kind of criteria required. So, for example, where we look at things like MVP, there's always something attached to that. It's got to come from someone in the top three teams, or it's got to come from someone who plays more minutes, or all that kind of thing. Whereas the Oscars, it's best leading male. So literally, who's your favourite player in the league right now? So we'll try and work out some sort of nomination list before that, with your help, the listeners, of course.
We should also integrate that with the one we've been talking about for years, which is awards for the best basketball movies of all time.
Oh, we built that all summer long, didn't we? And it was such an action-packed summer, we never got round to it.
That will be an awesome show. We need to do that.
We do, definitely.
I've still got my notes.
I have a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet with movie players in it. Yeah, and then April we'll surprise you all with a bit of an April 1st show, but I won't give you any more information other than that. But let's crack on. Indeed, with this week's show, we actually had a question come in as well from one of our listeners. I'll look up who that was and let you know in a second. But he basically wanted to know if we could break down anything to do with the BBL disciplinary panel findings vis-a-vis. Sorry to sound like David Brent. The game on the 23rd of December, so just before Christmas, Surrey Scorchers versus Bristol Flyers. In accordance with BBL operating rules, the BBL disciplinary panel reviewed an incident that occurred, and its findings were as follows. 1, Surrey Scorchers club were fined for a breach of BBL operating rules, and 2, the Surrey Scorchers GM Dan Clark was fined and required to take training in relation to a breach of the club's code of conduct, or the BBL's, code of conduct. In accordance with company policy, the level of fines are not disclosed. So, I mean, well, to me, and the rumours you hear are it's potentially, speculatively, as a result of Dan Clark getting a bit verbal with referees during that game. The second bit, I'll be honest, and if you're listening to this, this might make you laugh. It really made me laugh. When you read that, okay, so the second bit, Surrey Scorchers GM Dan Clark was fined, and it then seems like he's been further punished by being required to take training in relation to a breach of BBL's code of conduct. Now, I took that to mean he was having to take Surrey Scorchers training as a punishment. But obviously not.
Things like that. It's obviously nothing crazy because there would be bans, I guess, or whatever else. But there's so many in the BBL rulebook. There's so many little rules that you're meant to break or not break, or whatever. Meant to break. Sorry, meant not to break.
Yeah.
It could be anything. It really could. And it would be interesting to see now that's happened. Whatever it is, now there's going to have to be consistent throughout the league. If it is someone getting verbal to referees, what's the limit? Where are we going to start seeing this? Is it going to happen regularly? Are we going to start seeing more articles on things like this? Yeah.
Well, the trouble is we won't be disclosed with exactly what happened, what was said, and when it took place, because there's a chance
they still made it public. Made it public.
There's a chance he was in the crowd and didn't think he'd get caught.
No, in Bristol, flipping out. You're in the crowd. You're on the bench.
That's true. That's true. A little harsh, but true. Grant, my man, any light to shed on this?
I would just love to know what he said.
Or if he said anything.
Or if he said, just because I'd like to know if it was worse than what I was saying to the refs on Friday night.
It's really funny because I rarely go to the side at Bellevue where the benches are. I tend to watch from opposite, and I happened to need to go over to the table, and I was literally stood 3 feet away from Rob at the end of the first quarter. Just hearing what comes out of Rob's mouth.
Mate, it's insane, isn't it? Yeah.
I was laughing my head off. It was just like, wow, man.
Yeah.
But then,
that's normal.
It's different, isn't it?
You can hear Vince a lot because Vince obviously sounds like the Lion King. And it's like Mufasa shouting across the arena, "How can this be so, referee?"
Proper James L. Jones.
Yeah, which is always great. God love it. That's one of the reasons that I love having Vince as the head coach so much. But yeah, Rob, I was just like, wow, man. Wow.
Yeah. It's eye-opening. It is eye-opening. But I'm sorry, Mr. Jamie Thompson, who sent the message in. That's all we've got on it. That's all we know. Obviously they don't disclose the amount. They don't disclose the specific undertakings, what exactly happened. But I think
you would presume it would be something like that. Right?
It's safe to speculate that should you need what appears to be conduct training, that essentially is what happened. But
I want to know what conduct training by the BBL is. I can just imagine you have to sit there and listen to someone from BBL HQ to be like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Well, if you keep
or something.
If you keep going off, mate.
With a blackboard behind him, phrases you can't use. Like, are you fucking kidding, you bleep? You know what I mean?
I really hope it's David Brent style training as well. That'd be amazing. That would be great. But yeah, so that's all speculation. But I think it's relatively accurate speculation, if you know what I mean. Like, there's not a lot of other things it could be for, really. Should we talk about the trophy fixtures? And I mean, the trophy fixtures I want to talk about in particular are the close, exciting BBL ones. Bristol Flyers, Surrey Scorchers, obviously, was a hell of a bash. Scorchers managed to hold on for the win, and Flyers couldn't seem to break them down. We've got another question from a listener relating to the Scorchers, which we might tick off in this section in a sec. And then, of course, Giants Riders with an overtime thriller. What a game that was. And I see Grant's putting his finger on there, but I meant close, exciting games, not Gladiators, Eagles. That was,
that was
Eagles.
a long game. That was a long game.
It's a funny one. Yeah, Eagles looked like they were going to try and make a run for it, and Gladiators just sort of shut the door on them. So, the question we had from a listener was, and we can talk about this in relation to the Flyers Scorchers game, is basically regarding what's going on with the Scorchers this season. Ed Woodger feels like they're starting to find some form and looking stronger, with a lot of injured guys returning to the roster. Well, I mean, that looks testament to that. Bristol Flyers, one of the top 4 teams, Scorchers just had control of that game, really, from start to finish.
To be fair, I was thinking about it, and actually every time Flyers have played Scorchers, it's not been a blowout. Scorchers have always been there or thereabouts.
Okay.
It seems like it's a good matchup for them.
Yeah. It seems Surrey are a team that make things difficult for them, and from a matchup point of view, proves that to be difficult. Which, when you look at the rosters, is a bit of an odd one, but it's just sometimes teams have each other's number.
Yeah, and Surrey, yes, they got stronger because they've got players back from injury. So, of course, they're going to be stronger. We knew that was going to happen, and it's all about how they're going to rotate those players, and it looks like they've done it pretty well. So, kudos to them. But I think Surrey is a team that's going to be close to Bristol every time they play them this season. Period. You got Andrew Lawrence, you got Ryan Martin. We said this at the beginning of the podcast when we talked about predictions. You have a team with those 2 players in. They're going to cause some problems at some point.
That's my man.
I'd love to give you an analysis of it, but I didn't watch it. I was really happy for Surrey, though. Genuinely happy for Surrey.
Well, they looked like they're starting to put it together, but Wang had another good game, 18 points, 8 rebounds. But I agree with our listener. I think they are starting to put it together, and it's making it exciting because when it comes to the league, the more games these guys get under their belts, the more of a rush they make, the closer this league becomes from basically 4th right the way down to 10th. So, yeah. So you guys not being so surprised and looking at those scores and saying like Scorchers always play them close is one thing, but yeah, I do think they're starting to turn it around. No doubt, Mr. Masters, sir, you were there for the Giants Riders thriller. What a game!
It was a great game, a really, really great game. Where'd you start with it? I mean, there's so many things to take into account with it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if we're going to talk about Rookie of the Year, it's done. It's Taj Green. It was good. It's over. I mean, 38 points, 14 rebounds. It's ridiculous, and the guy is just incredible.
Yeah.
But there was big performances everywhere. I mean, Fletch was immense. Another double-double.
13 points, 14 assists, and I thought he scored. I think he had 3 assists and scored the last point or the last 4 points.
He scored the basket that tied it up with 2 seconds left in the game. I must admit, I had the perfect view of it, and I was scared because he took off quite far out. And you're just going, please, please, please hit the board in the right place. Because if it does, it's straight, and it did. So Fletch was just Fletch. He was amazing. For me, I'm not bothered about saying it. I can't tell you how much I love Mark Loving.
He's amazing. His first half, particularly,
incredible. Yeah, he was a bit quiet in the second half, but oh my God, that guy! I mean, what was it, 32 and 13? And he is ice cold. His expression doesn't change, and he just gets on with it. The guy is unbelievable, and for me, he's my MVP so far. Huge,
and his hair was incredible the
weekend. Oh, mate, wasn't it great?
The hair was insane.
In real life, it was majestic. It was like watching. It was like Dr. J. I'm telling you, in the 70s, watching him go at it. The interesting thing regarding the game, there was things that concerned me, but there was things that concerned me that they dealt with very well. As you know, I am not a huge fan of the modern day shoot threes until you win the game culture in the NBA here or anywhere else. And it's been a bugbear of mine for years that teams get involved in these 3-point shootouts with people trying to be heroes and trying to win the game that way. And I argue with people till the cows come home about it. The third quarter, the Giants are down by, I think, 10 points. And as I often do, sat with my good buddy Trez, and we talk about it all the time, is that you can't get into these 3-point shooting battles, especially with Leicester. And if you look at the stats at the end of the game, Leicester shot 50% from three and Giants shot 28%. Now, whether something clicked in the third quarter, but the Giants started to play the kind of basketball that it was like watching a 90s game, perhaps. They were backing into the key. Taj Green was backing players down and attacking the basket. Fletch was going on drives if there was a lane opening. They were playing sensible basketball and they weren't jacking up threes just for the sake of it. They did it at other points in the game. Yeah. Like in the fourth quarter, I think Taj might have put up a three, which I thought, no, you didn't need to make that shot. Keep it on the floor and back him down and attack the basket. Okay.
They took 7 threes the whole game, Manchester.
Yeah. But that's.
Well, they only made 7 threes.
They made 7. They took like 25.
They took like 25.
Yeah, they took more than.
It's Vince ball. Vince loves the 3 ball. You know that. But it worked a treat, and they got themselves, I think it was either 2 points in it or level at the start of the fourth quarter by getting the ball inside and playing inside the paint and using their height and their strength. And then obviously right at the end of the game, legend Robertson? I just call him legend. He has finally realised that he's a big dude and that he needs to go in hard. I interviewed him after last week's game and just basically just told him that he's a huge guy and he needs to, be taking names in the paint. And he's kind of started.
Did he tell him to look in the mirror?
Yeah. The Giants were lucky in the last seconds of the game because what happened now? Was it a foul or did it looked like a foul and they got away with it to force overtime. But in overtime, you always worry when you're playing a team like Leicester because they are so cold and calculated. Yeah, they don't look nervous. They don't look stressed out. They just get on with it. And they managed to unpick the Giants. I think it was Robertson missed 4 free throws in the last minute of the game.
He did miss a few, and he's a decent player as well. I like him.
He's a superb player.
Played 42 minutes as well.
Yeah, he's a great player, and he will be the one that will not be thinking about anything other than those free throws all week. So, you could see where the game got away from them, and they were disappointed. I mean, Fletch was gutted after the game. They all were, because they thought they had it. I think, but you just can't mess with Leicester. Patrick Whelan comes out. He loves playing in Manchester because he knows that he's got a lot of family and friends there, and he wants to put on a show. Aaron Menzies loved coming back again. You know what I mean? So much. It felt like a kind of Sheffield back in the day rivalry type game because Leicester had a few fans there. But no, the Giants, they hung in there well. I mean, it was only in the sort of dying seconds that scoreline did stretch out. It was the last minute where it's like,
it got away from them.
Yeah. But did you know what? On an individual basis, that was some of the best performances I've seen this season.
Hell of a game.
I was gonna say about Taj Green. I didn't even realize it wasn't until the game finished and I was looking through the stats. I was like, "Damn, he got 38 points."
Yeah, I was the same.
And he only made 1 free.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, he was spectacular. Him and Mark Loving were another level, but everyone. And it's weird because like Vince's rotation, obviously sometimes you question it. Callum played nearly 15 minutes and was really effective. It was great because obviously it showed that he is a great support for Fletch when Fletch needs to take a breather, and Cal can still be productive.
I missed Nick Lewis when he got fouled out, I thought.
Yeah, Nick Lewis has been playing great lately.
Defensively is highly... The statisticians would tell you he's the best defensive player in the league.
I would agree with it. He's a predator, that guy. You take your eye off him for a second and the ball's gone, and he'll steal it from you.
It's always going to be tough though. Like they played with really 7 guys against Leicester, which is always going to be tough because Legend obviously only played like a minute and a half or whatever it was. When you're looking at Leicester, they're using pretty much they used everyone but Evan Walsh, so they used 1, 2, 3, 4.
Why is that? Because Evan Walsh has played consistent minutes for them previously, and he's played well.
But but now you've got to mix Bandoo into that. So he got 10 minutes, so that's Evan Walsh time as well.
Yeah.
The only guy that for me had a really bad game was Darian Nelson-Henry. He just couldn't get going at all because when he's on it, you got a problem. But he just was not in the game.
With that, they only played him 17 minutes, I guess, because of that. Yeah. So they played Adekoya 17 and they went small. Well, I say small.
Well, Nelson-Henry fouled out before he could finish his next 3 minutes. He only ever plays 20 minutes, doesn't he?
Yeah, true.
And again, underneath all that, Zach Jackson was spectacular as well.
But it's like what you said about Whelan. Like, Whelan had 20-10, but he's another one I was like, Mark Loving was a standout. Then it was Jackson, and you almost forget Pat Whelan. Like, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Look through afterwards, you see Mark Loving scoring with ease, and it's just like, they're such a good team, and when Bandoo gets into the rotation, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that as a topic later on.
The team that I saw, if they play like they played last night against London in the final, it's game on, I'm telling you. Leicester are not a walkover. I'm telling you, they are not a walkover.
Grant, my man, do you want to talk us through Glasgow briefly? The Glasgow, Caledonia Gladiators, the team from Glasgow, and the Eagles.
See, when we were talking about threes, it got me to thinking. I was like, I don't remember this game being a high 3-point shooting game. Eagles still shot the ball 24 times, but Gladiators only shot 13 threes and made 9 of them.
69%, yeah.
And they were all good shots. Like, I think this is one of these games where
Newcastle 12%. That's insane.
Like, there were so many fouls committed throughout this game that the game was tweeted about at the time, and it actually got quite a lot of interactions because everyone's kind of like agreeing, and then BBL Maths obviously tweeted out, shout out to Ali, and about how many more fouls there's been this season, and that's for another time. But
that's
this
insane.
game actually, and considerably more this season. But this game was probably decided by a lot of teams' second units. Like I'd probably say like Sloan only played 17 minutes, foul trouble. Onwas 15 minutes, foul trouble. But it was the support guys of like Kyle Jimenez, Johnny Bunyan. After being on the show last week,
friend of the show,
I made a comment to him about the fact. Remember, he was saying he only made 1 from 10 field goals. So I said, "Hey, Johnny, 4 from 5 is not bad." He went, "Yeah, but this doesn't matter. That's not the league." So he's still 1 from 10 in the league. And then Fraser Malcolm off the bench as well, 11 points. So the Scottish guys really stepped up. With obviously Ali still being out, Jordan Burns didn't play because of a back injury, and then when you're missing those two, and then 2 guys in foul trouble, what a way to step up. And Jeremiah Bailey, out with his turnovers, I suppose. You're talking, well, he almost had a triple-double if you include turnovers, but still 6 assists. Like, he's really matured the last couple of games, I've noticed.
I like him. He's great.
He's not fouling out. He's not getting technicals. And on Friday night there, he had to almost be the kind of main scoring guy when you've got the
He can be, though, can't he? He's great.
And he absolutely can. And you just have to see, like, he was brilliant. And from an Eagles point of view, obviously the big fanfare return of Justin Gordon, and he struggled to get going. Some cheap fouls, but everywhere got cheap fouls. It was good seeing Dennis Rubiaro getting some proper minutes for them. And I think he's someone that I don't know why he doesn't get more playing time in Newcastle at the moment.
No, it's true. Can you answer me a question? Somebody tweeted that David Cohn is a cheat code. Did you see that? Well, I don't know what for. Like 3 points. He was 1 from 3, 0 from 4, 8 assists, 3 turnovers, 4 steals.
He loves a technical, loves a pop at a referee, doesn't that guy? That's 2 or 3 times I've now seen him, and every time he's mouthing off at refs and
fouled out, yeah.
Fouled out. But Eagles couldn't buy a bucket. They were putting up some tough shots. Hamlet, for him, had an off night and he still scored 19 points.
Well, I mean, the other one I noticed as well is that Donovan Johnson finally turned up to the party as well. And he seemingly had a good game. But the other thing with Justin Gordon, do you remember 3 years ago, Paps, when we were so high on Justin Gordon?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, this guy, So hopefully he's going to find a little bit of form for them because he's a great player.
He was someone as well. When I was looking at him up, I was like, I don't think he was as good last season for Newcastle. Like in my head, I just had him.
He came for the end of the season, didn't he? And he was, he didn't seem the same.
But see, when you look at it from a stats point of view, he was up in every category last season.
Yeah, he's still statistically great. He just didn't. But the first season had a real impact.
Before, we were talking about him as MVP candidate. He was doing he had the dunk of the season up in Manchester, if you remember. That dunk he had, that breakaway windmill, and I just really hope he picks it back up again. I mean, what's the deal? Is he injured? Is he?
No, well,
he plays the season he plays finishes early.
Right.
Wherever he's been, he comes and
he was in Argentina.
There you go. Right. And he'll finish the season like he did last season.
So he gets paid all year round.
Yeah, exactly.
For one season.
So he's doing it the other way around because obviously a lot of guys go to Australia after the BBL season. And
he got.
Listen, I was gonna bring this up along.
Wait, hold it. I was going to talk about the fouls quickly. I was doing some notes.
Let's talk about referees. Yeah.
No. I was curious because Grant really went on it about the fouls on social media, and I didn't watch that game, and I heard a lot of debate on it on social media. So I thought I'd have a look at foul count. So the foul count was 47 personal fouls, right?
47.
Leicester game, 50, and that went into overtime.
Another 5 minutes. Yeah.
Cheshire Bristol, 34 fouls. Phoenix Nottingham, 19 fouls. So, do you know what? It's justified. The fact that it was nearly as many as the overtime game was absolutely insane. But I don't mind the foul count being up year on year, as long as the fouls.
There's quite a spike for this year.
Yeah, but as long as they got the decisions right.
Yeah, but they haven't, because those offensive screens are bollocks. And sorry to offend any referee that might be listening, but most of them are bullshit. It was true. 4 against your team, your attacking guard, the defending guard has run into a screen, and because he's run into a screen, it's an offensive foul. No, sorry, it's not. He's run into the screen. That's what the fucking screen does.
There's always been a weird thing about the illegal screen, though.
But this season they're able to throw their body, and I've seen LVC do it this season, which is clever because he's looking at what the referees are calling, and he's run at the guy doing the screen. He's taken both feet off the floor and he's clattered into him and hit the floor, and the referee's given an offensive foul. And other players do it, defensively at their end, and it's bollocks. So that's
it's funny that
would describe the spike that there is on the Venn diagram that Ali's drawn up for BBL Maths.
We got a highlight video, I think, of LVC scoring a free. And it was one of the Leicester players got hit by 2 screens. And as you watch him get hit by the screen, you see him like flare his shoulder back on every one. Like every time he got hit by a screen, he goes, ugh, and threw his shoulder back.
When you say hit by a screen, every time he ran into a screen.
Yeah. And the players will catch on to it because if you put a focus on one thing, the players will soon figure out they're clever people, and then they'll play on that.
let's start to move on through the chat. Now, I meant to put Justin Gordon on that list because we'll talk about some of the signings that have come in. Do they make a difference to the teams they're joining? Let's start with Justin Gordon. Does Justin Gordon, because let's be honest, the Eagles have strung a few results together lately, and they're only 4 points off, and they've got 2 games in hand off of Sheffield. So, does Justin Gordon make a difference to that team and get him into the playoffs?
Tough question, because
he's going to have to pull out his Superman outfit pretty soon.
Because when you look at it again, you still got. Hang
on. Yeah, 2 games in hand over Sheffield. That would put them on 14 points. It depends who those 2 games are against, but
they got 5 wins, and we've said it before. 2 wins later, Sheffield. 3 wins, Caledonia, Plymouth, Manchester. Right? I know there's games in hand and everything else, but as a win column, you're not that far off. You're one weekend to being back in it. You're 2 weekends away from being above it.
You're 2 weekends away from being top 4.
Mate, yeah, honestly, like before Christmas, we went into Christmas, we were 4th.
True.
We're sitting now in 7th. It's not even the end of January.
Yeah. I think Justin Gordon, my only now question mark on Newcastle and whether or not he fits in there is I feel like they've now got too many players who will want arguably good court time. Like Kyle Johnson. Like for guys that can all play kind of the 3 position or 3-4, Kyle Johnson, Montford, what's he going to do? Kennedy, Gordon. Like I feel like they've got too many guys who are going to want decent minutes.
Yeah.
Like that's my question mark with them.
What happens when the end of February comes and they can't get any more players in? What are they going to do then?
It's probably a good thing. It's like when you play champ manager with your mate, and all right, until the transfer window, he thinks he's got to sign players every week. But I think this is a good signing, and I'm not confident anymore in my statement previously. Myself and Ads made the statement that this was going to be the 8, and Scorchers and Eagles won't be making the playoffs. I'm still not sold on the Scorchers, although I do think they're playing a lot better. But the Eagles, they're not. This is we're getting to the business end of the season now. We're heading towards the second half of it, and they're not a million miles away. And they've just signed a player who understands the BBL and who is a talent.
But who does he then take their place to start lineup?
Surely.
Montford doesn't play any minutes.
Has he not been a pretty regular starter?
Not for a while.
No, not at all.
To be honest, I mean, is there anybody really that he wouldn't trump in that squad in his position?
Maybe he eases up some minutes on Darius.
Puts Darius at centre and puts Justin Gordon at the 4, and then you've got Hamlet.
Darius came off the bench though at the weekend again. That's the last few times I've seen Newcastle. He's come off the bench.
Yeah, but he's still giving him pretty big minutes.
But I think he makes the difference to that team, and I think other teams around the league are going to have to watch out for the Eagles now. Whereas before, you're looking at that on the fixtures list thinking, yeah, they're going to work hard, but they were unable to close games. Now they've got an element to them that knows how to close out close games and will be clever and will be athletic and can shoot. Dangerous.
Well, they've got a bit of a run coming up because they're playing up here. No, we're playing up. I don't know.
You're playing them, yeah.
They've got Bristol twice. They've got Sheffield.
Best time to play Bristol as well, because Bristol consistency is becoming an issue for Bristol right now.
Sheffield's the interesting one because they're just above them. They actually just got rid of 2 quite productive players.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting how they go now. Because we are getting to that point where actually, if things don't work out for you, you ain't going to be able to make any more changes.
I think I've seen online today they're about to announce their other new player they were bringing in.
Who's this?
Oh, Sheffield?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've not said who that player is. They've just told us about them.
Have they got
any? You'd think they'll be definitely bringing people in because obviously they let people go. Out of retirement, number 15. Let's move this question on then to the Leicester Riders, Leicester City Riders it was back in the day. I don't know why they got rid of the city. Maybe it was a bit too long to fit on the jerseys. Devontae Bandoo coming in, Thornton going out. No real speculation as to why or anything, which is weird because obviously speculation hits other clubs a lot more severely for some reason. Yeah, interesting one. Obviously, if pretty much everybody said it, Thornton didn't quite seem to hit the spot, and synonymously, if you don't fit in with the system with Rob, you're out, you're gone.
And that overall as a decision is fair enough. Like in my eyes, I'm not gonna lie, this is professional sport. This isn't like,
of course,
keep hold on to my mate because Barbara down the road who's a season ticket holder likes him. Right? That
sounds like a literal reference.
I don't know. I know nobody called Barbara. But what I'm
the
saying
names have been changed to protect the innocent. Yeah.
If Thornton didn't fit with what Rob wanted to do, whether it was what that was, or whether it was Thornton who wasn't happy, whether it was Rob that wasn't happy, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Question is, does he make the difference? Does he make the difference? And they've announced as well earlier on. When was that? I was a bit later on the 13th. They announced that they've signed young British talent Victor Ndoku on a 4.5-year deal to see him there until 2027.
Yeah, I love that. That's a long-term thing, and that's brilliant. But I think the new point guard, if you look at his CV, he should flip and make a difference. Jeez,
what do you reckon, guys?
CV?
I think he's the fact he's represented Canada in a couple of recent windows, good numbers in the Canadian League that a lot of guys who have signed for London have done well at, and he's played some decent minutes in the G League as well. So he's almost the type you'd think if this was a London signing, you'd understand it. I think he's a great pickup for Leicester, and I think I said at the time in our group chat that that could be a signing that just pulls them that bit closer, and the cup final makes it even more interesting because there was just always something about Thornton. And I think you look at how much Kimball Mackenzie's played the last month or so. Nobody thought Kimball Mackenzie's going to be a 30-plus minute player for them.
But he's done a good job. He's done a very good job.
He's done a very good job during a time when, before that, Leicester weren't doing too well, and we were saying, how are they going the opposite way? But since Kimball's played better, and the usuals, Jacksons, Whelans, and Loving have all been so solid as usual, that Mackenzie's been that fourth guy who's kind of made them tick. Can this guy come in with his CV and keep them ticking? That'll be the question.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, previously, Mackenzie was kind of a second fiddle to Gino Crandall, right? And I rated him after I saw him play against Giants in the final this time last year. I was like, actually, this guy's pretty good. And it's about one way you're not quite sure how good he's going to be at running the point when he's playing with Gino Crandall. He stepped it up this year for me, Mackenzie, and has done a great job in this sort of weird little interim period that they've had with players and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see how his role changes.
I got a question for you, Ads.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you because I think I know what the answer is going to be. Is Devontae Bandoo enough to get the Riders some silverware?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Nicholson thinks so as well?
Yeah, I think when
we're looking at the Lions, aren't we, specifically? But go on.
Yeah, when you get to the finals, we know they're finals. They're one game. That's it. And Riders have come close to Lions before. It's one game. And if one game takes one player to go off on one, that's all you need.
I think we're going to have Sunday's going to be a good game. A week on Sunday.
I think with that Leicester team as well, you've got guys who have won in this league at that competition as well, which could make it in Birmingham. Like, London could have all the guys with the CVs and the highlights and the performances, but as we keep saying, a final's a one-off game, and it could come down to a guy like who's won it before. It could be Andre, it could be Connor. It could even be Connor Washington.
We had some Lions fans. I think it was St. Pat online saying how unfavourable the schedule is for the Lions coming up to the final. I personally don't think the signing is going to be enough. I honestly don't, and I base that on what I've seen, and I base that on what the Lions have to offer on the court, and the simple fact that someone like Johnny Bunyan on the show last week said they're beating teams at 75% and they're looking good doing it. When it comes to a final, this Lions team is going to be more locked in. And early prediction, I can see a blowout, big time.
Well, I think London will want that. But I think there's a big factor in there, which is experience in finals and the coaching staff, which comes into play. And not just Rob, I'm talking about the assistant coach, Pablo, who is a fantastic technician and tactical coach.
He is, but he's been outmatched every time they played the Lions so far.
Yeah, but sometimes you learn your lessons by being there.
Do you think they're playing the long game? They're hiding some tricks.
I don't think they're playing the long game. No, not the slightest. I think they got beat by talent, but I think I wouldn't take them out of it at all. No way. Who said the schedule wasn't favouring? The schedule wasn't favouring London.
I think it was St. Pat. I think Ryder's got 2 games coming up to the final, and Lions have got 3 BBL and 2 European games.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, you are kind of 80% in control of your schedule.
Sure.
The BBL send you fixtures and you can.
Well, I don't know if that's early excuses from Lions fans who are a bit worried, but if I wouldn't be worried if I was them at all.
And I think my only question mark is that you see the amount of players inactive for Lions recently in terms of injuries. Ove seems to be out pretty long term.
Keeping him for the final.
Well, he sat out some big Euro games. Pruban seems to have missed a few for injuries. It's also quite a big thing when Aaron Best was sat out because he was stepped down because they obviously had brought in that other American player.
Yeah.
He's now been re-added to the list. So you're as such bringing in a new American is from a license point of view, or from a 5 point of view. So yeah, they're struggling with a few injuries. So it'll be interesting to see with that schedule and hopping on and off flights. That could also be a massive question mark for the final.
I've got a funny feeling, though, London being London, regardless of their schedule, they've got enough money to make sure their preparation for a final is as good as it can be.
They'll be comfortable, yeah.
You mean they're not staying in the Premier then?
What does that mean?
There's a lot. There's a lot of rehab you can do. There's a lot of conditioning you can do. Sleep in, ice. I'm not talking like a pack of ice on your knee and say, crack on, you'll be all right for the final tomorrow. The
physios, rub downs,
they have access to, the money they have to make sure that they are as prepared as they could be is going to be a lot greater than Plymouth City Patriots going up to Caledonia and staying in a travel lodge, right? I'm not saying that we do stay in a travel lodge, but you know what I mean? It's going to be a lot greater than that.
There's at least 2 Premier Inns nearer to the Emirates as well. Like, come on.
Yeah. There's a nice camping in Birmingham. Fellas, let's along the same line. Obviously, it's a couple of changes at Plymouth. Booman, as we know, out. Daniels coming in. Juwan Daniels stepping in for him with a tasty looking CV. Troy Simons also leaving, which is not really a surprise when you think he's really good friends with Antonio Williams, and there's that aspect of it. And whether or not his heart's in it once his mate's gone, who knows? Fact of the matter is, it was what's the word I'm looking for? Mutual consent. There you go. It was a mutual thing. Club and player parting ways, but coming in for him, Ty Gadsden, who looks proper good. His CV is very, very nice. I thought it was comparable to Devontae Bandoo's. Obviously, he's not got the international, but you're not going to if you're USA. But to have been with Charlotte Hornets, the couple of G League teams there as well, and then playing for one of the top teams in Mexico, and actually getting that team. If you look through the real GM, actually got that team through their semi-final and top scored, I think, 3 games in the playoffs and took his team onwards. It's quite impressive to look at. The question are they an upgrade? Is it like for like in a way? But the more important question is, are the playoffs still a reality for this Plymouth team? Grant, my man.
Oh. I'm just having another wee nosy at the 2 guys that have come in. And I suppose it's always easier to look and think, yeah, okay, Antonio's a big miss. Troy's a big miss from last season.
Yeah.
But Troy's stats were nowhere near as good as they were if you compare season and season.
He was putting it together, to be fair. Like he obviously had the injury, and both of them had injuries.
That is true, and the injury does, and obviously being his back, that's a difficult one.
That's right,
But it was always brilliant to see him back on court because he did add a lot to Plymouth when he was on form. Gadsden does look good. I don't think he is the same level as Leicester's new man. I think there's just a slight difference in him, and it'll be interesting to see how Plymouth do. Daniels is interesting. He looks solid. A kind of maybe a mid to lower end kind of D1 school he was at. So these guys always just depends how they fit into the rotation. It'll be interesting to see what that means for Dusha, Brandon, Hassan, Bell, whoever else. And does it fix, in my opinion, Pat's issue of maybe not being deep enough compared to some teams? Okay, Joe Hart being out, still a massive miss.
Ads, my man. Anything to add to that?
That's something you can't play without. Never can. They they are that team that just seem to rally, and you've done it season on season as the Raiders and the Patriots, and why shouldn't it? Yeah, you're going to be in the playoffs.
Good.
The end.
I just don't know if it'll be, obviously, having not watched the new kind of point guard play, it'll be interesting to see how different he is to Antonio. It'll be interesting to see, is he as emotional? Is he in more control of his emotions? Is he going to be able to take the game by the scruff of the neck? His Mexico stuff seems like he should and could be. And yeah, it's an exciting thing to see as we obviously play Plymouth Friday night, so I'm going to stop saying anything before I get used by Paul in the chat.
Jerron Daniels, by the way, Pro Review A&M, led his team in scoring and assists. Actually played the centre in college. And since coming, I'm assured by my friend Mr. Nicholson that he's quite capable of 3 or 4. And obviously in the BBL, if you can play at 4, you probably can't play far away from the 5. Not that Rashad Hassan would necessarily give up his space for that. But rebounding is a big thing. And if he led his team in college in rebounding, then that should add a few more boards to the Pats. I don't think Ty Gadsden's CV is that far away from Devontae Bandoo. But like you say, it's all on paper. We need to see it on the court, but it's exciting. And the fact that he's only 6'1", which probably means he's only 5'11", to be highly touted and highly scouted by G League teams and by NBA teams is not bad for the old CV. But hopefully, yeah. It's going to be tight. I think it's going to be tight. Eagles are on the chase. Sharks are looking to sign players. That chase for the 8th is going to be close. Nicholson, anything to add, or should we just move on?
Sorry, what are we talking about?
We'll move on.
Your team.
No, I won't. Look, I'll say something because it's only fair. I've got to be mutual about everything, right? So, just because I work,
you're not on the broadcast.
Just because I work for them doesn't mean I'm just going to talk about them, right? But
I've got a new pair of LVC Dusha pajamas.
Listen. So they've come in, both 2 training sessions so far to date. Because obviously they arrived Thursday, trained Friday, weekend off, like shoot around probably, and then train today. Both very capable offensive players, can shoot the free ball, both of them. You're right with Juwan. He can mix it up probably from 2 to 4, if I'm honest with you, position wise. Gadsden, very cool, calm, collect, very quick, very, very quick. Not quite your explosive Antonio Williams, don't get me wrong,
but fast.
But he is really fast. I think both are going to be really good additions, if I'm honest with you, from what I've seen so far. But this week's a big week for them at training because they're coming in with a new setup, a new environment, new country, and straight off to Glasgow on Friday to play Caledonia. So it's there's nothing like a quick road trip up to Glasgow to get you started, right?
A really easy journey, isn't it?
Freshen you up. All right, fellas, it's time for some MVP shouts. I think we'll try and go for 3 each. So get your lists at the ready. Some of this will be down to also as well, like indicative of where you think teams might finish, because traditionally it's top 3 that the MVP is selected from. While you're kind of trying to catch up with that, just a quick question: do you think 777 should look at changing the way the MVP is voted on? Because at the moment it's just coaches, and I don't think that's good enough.
Yeah, I think it should be far, far broader.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's too easy to have a vendetta or an opinion on someone that's wronged you throughout the season and just vote against them because, well, you don't like them.
As well, I add some media. We change the percentage of how much each vote counts, if you like. So, coaches maybe set the nominees, as it were, or whatever. But I know, I don't know, I'm not sure they put as much thought into it as maybe people like us that are, well, me particularly, that are a bit dorky and look at these things far more widely than they probably should. And they'll pick on, with the best will in the world, maybe a Lions player that actually doesn't feature in the top 20 for any stats at all, because he's a difficult matchup rather than what he's actually contributed to the team he's on. Like the Lions players will maybe not benefit from the fact that it's a hell of a team, and there's a real team ethos, and there's no one outstanding player. Maybe from game to game it's different each time. But anyway, what we got, fellas?
Who are you going to first?
Up to you. Go on.
All right. So my 3 at the moment is Sam Decker.
After all that.
Yeah. Well, he's the best player in the league. Let's be honest. I just think he's the best player in the league. Period. Statistically, London are going to be a little bit lesser than some teams because they've got a lot of talent who share the points, rebounds, and everything else. So he's there for me at the moment. Mark Lovin is there right now, and I'm stuck on the third. I'm trying to actually pick 3 people from 3 different teams to keep it equal. So at the minute, it's difficult because Bristol look really good where they are right now, but again, they share the stats really, really well.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to go 3 from 3, and I'm going to do it based on picking the top 3 teams, I am going to go Decker, Lovin, Delpesh.
Wow.
So you think your Bristol are going to finish 3rd, yeah?
Well, no, I'm going on what it is right now.
Okay.
I'm not looking at what it's going to be. I'm looking at there's the top 3 teams. Those are the 1 player from each team.
Fair enough. Grant, my man.
I'm surprised you went for Delpesh.
No, I want to change my mind. I want to go VJ King now.
I can't believe you didn't say VJ King.
I've just completely forgot about King. And I even put him on a graphic. That's how much I think about Decker and King, actually. I even put them on a graphic. And I never put other players on graphics. So, yeah, change my plan. King. Sorry, Delpesh. Do one.
Fair enough.
For me, I'm going to try and maybe select slightly different players. I'm going to select Jeremiah Bailey, David Sloan, and Johnny Bunyan. No, but to be honest, I'm not far off going for someone like a Jeremiah Bailey. I think his stats are just going to improve as the season goes on. He is top 10 in 6 different categories. I think I'd said for most are rookie. I think you're looking at quite difficult not having Taj Green in anything like that for any shout. I would like him to take or attempt less threes. I think that's not his. He makes a couple, but I'd rather see him dominate inside. But then that's not the Manchester way. And then probably VJ King. But then it's hard to miss out people like Sloan, who's for many people one of the better guards in the league. And I think it's obvious that Decker's the best player in the league because he just oozes class. I think I've said 5 guys. So
I was going to say you went with no London or Leicester players, which is like.
And then at the same thing, I could easily throw in Pat Whelan or Zach Jackson or all of them. I think that's what will count against Leicester is because they put 3 guys so strong. London have got good players, but they win games based on Decker ball. Like Decker's taken over many a game that's got close and won them that.
Well, he's MVP then, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think Decker will be it, and rightfully so. But sorry, Pabs. But if I'm not going to select Decker, and I'll select slightly different people to Nicholson, except VJ King was on mine, and my wow for when he put Del Pesh was because of that. I'm going Green and Bailey and King.
Ads, my man, where are you going?
I love him.
If you see, you're going to say Mark Loving 3 times now, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting hearing what you guys are saying about it because I agree with you about London. I think I can't see Decker not getting it. You know what I mean? Which kind of pisses me off because I think that there'll be other guys, namely the Leicester guys, they'll be a bit hard done by if he does get it. Because Mark Loving for me is the man. But like you say, Zach Jackson's been incredible, and Patrick Whelan has also been incredible. So there's 3 guys off one team, but then on London you got to be looking at Costa Koufis. Yeah, it's that weird thing. Taj Green for me is the rookie of the year. If Giants go on to do something, deep playoff run, whatever, then you know he might be in the conversation. But it's just that weird thing about a rookie winning MVP, isn't it? Although some of his performances are MVP-like.
It also depends where they finish in the league to a degree.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Decker just because it seems like the obvious thing already. I'm going to go with Mark Loving, and just so that it's 3 different guys, I'm going to go for Taj Green.
Lovely. Is that everybody? Yeah.
Good. Have you gone for?
Oh yeah, I haven't done mine yet, have I? Well, I haven't had time, so we'll leave that. No. I wanted to give a shout to Larry Austin, although I don't think that.
Yeah, there you go. You see, there's a forgotten name.
Well, Cheshire are 4th right now. There's every chance Cheshire could get into that 3rd spot, and Larry Austin just is everything about that Phoenix team. Defensively, maybe the best player in the league.
I think they only win games because of Anderson. I
think it's a bit of a combination.
There's another name.
But I don't think he'd ever be in an MVP discussion. But he just makes that team tick. Like Larry Austin, when Jamal sits out, is the one pulling that team through. So he's definitely a top 10 player in the league. Larry Austin, he was brilliant when they played the Gladiators. So he's not far off my reckoning either, Pabs.
But when he's talking about giving Jamal Anderson his props, though, it's absolutely 100% that he's going to be all BBL British.
Oh God, yeah.
You'd definitely hope so. They shouldn't mess that one up at least, should they? I do have Decker in the list.
We've forgotten somebody else as well. How will his injury affect William Lee?
Well, that's one of the names I had with a question mark by it, and that's also because of league position. They need to get up there. And, I mean, William Lee, proclaimed by Vince, obviously, as the best player in the league. He's only played 9 games.
But perhaps those 9 games, he was the best player in the league.
But you've got to play more. This was my point with Decker. If it gets to a situation where they don't play him in the league as much, and he ends up because he's only played 11 of their 15 games. You look at someone like Larry Austin, who's played 18 out of their 19 games. You're looking at most valuable. That means you can't leave the guy out. If London, the situation at London means they can rest him. They don't need to play him. But I think that matters. If he's not playing enough games, as it is now, he's probably played enough. 11 from 15. If he misses, I don't know, a bunch more, because they don't have to play him, then I don't think he's a valid shout for MVP. He's one of my 3. Of course he is.
But I think for Decker, he legit missed. The only games he's missed was when he was injured. He's not one of the ones they've really inactive, in my opinion. Like, I feel like he's played or suited up for every game he possibly can.
I thought he missed one prior to a Euro game just because, they didn't want to use him in the league game and not be able to have him for Europe.
Maybe, but I honestly
coming back from injury, though, yeah, you're right.
I think he plays if they need him to.
Well, we'll see as things unfold. And Mark Lovin, of course, is... And I thought it was going to be Patrick. I don't think there's a million miles between the two of them. In fact, looking at it statistically, they've both played 18 games. One's on... just on efficiency points, one's on 306 and one's on 275. Mark Lovin slightly higher. It's a toss-up between those two, and obviously that could change as the league goes on, but I just think Mark Lovin has been that guy they've needed in games where it's been close and they've needed someone to help pull it out. He's been the guy. He's looked the best out of all of them when they've come up against the Lions, so he obviously can keep playing regardless of who's on him. Just off the back of this, and I think we're all kind of decided that provided he plays enough, I don't even know if that's a factor. It should be, but maybe not. Sam Decker doesn't, plays a number of more games. He'll likely get that MVP nod because as the coach's vote, and I've heard it said that he's one of the best players they've seen in the BBL, regardless of just this season. So, off the back of this, looking at the league, so Lions top, Flyers in second, Riders in third. And then it's kind of the chasing pack, although Phoenix aren't a million miles away from that. There was some debate regarding the kind of tiers, the tier levels of BBL. Do we see it as Lions and Riders and the rest of the league? Or Lions, Riders, Flyers just underneath that, and then the rest of the league? Because I thought that was mad. I thought Lions clearly out in front, although it's equal on points. They've got 4 games.
It's like Lions and everyone else at the minute. Right?
Lions, then Flyers and Riders, and then the rest of the league.
Well, like you said, Cheshire only 2 wins away from Leicester, 3 wins away from Bristol. So that's not really counting.
No, they're not a million miles away, but as it's gone results wise, Flyers can't stop beating the Riders, and yet people are saying the Riders need to be on their own tier underneath Lions and above Bristol.
But when you put people on tiers, you're basically saying they're untouchable, right? So you put Lions on a tier because, yes, they've lost 2 games. I get it, yeah. But they're pretty much untouchable when they play their best.
Well, they've only lost 2 games. Everybody else has lost at least 4 more than them.
Bristol and Leicester aren't untouchable.
No.
So I would.
But are they interchangeable? So you saying Riders, you wouldn't be surprised if they finished 7th?
Well, no, they're not going to finish 7th, are they?
So then they're on a tier, aren't they? They're not untouchable in terms of losing games, but they are going to be up, second. And I think the Flyers will be with them. They're above them at the moment.
I don't know. I just think any Cheshire, Manchester, Caledonia, Plymouth, Sheffield, Newcastle, and Surrey, all of them could beat Bristol or Leicester.
Agreed. But I still think Leicester and Bristol will be the 2 teams that are still up there fighting for that second place.
I think Leicester will be. Bristol, they should be. They should be. It's just hard to see it other than Leicester, because what we've seen before, right? We've always seen Leicester up there. Always. So it's hard to see anyone else up there, because I've never seen anyone just cement that third space.
So you think Lions, then a gap, then Riders, then a gap, then the rest of the pack?
Yeah.
Grant, my man?
I'm proper staring deeply at the league table right now.
I thought you were nodding off.
It might look like that. I'm just looking at numbers. And I'm then trying to work out, and it could get quite geeky that you go and look at schedules over the next month or so. But
That's what we're here for. That is what we're here for.
The geekiness.
Hell yeah. I've been listening to Zach Lowe all day. Let's get geeky.
And I think everything I always say is obviously going to have a bit of a gladiator slant to it. But if you look at tiers, you'd probably say London are up from their own.
Yeah.
I think Leicester, you look at the current form, Leicester, and they just look like they're ticking over a bit more than Bristol. But then is our Bristol that far ahead of the other maybe 6 teams? Probably. So I'd probably say London ahead of Leicester, who are just ahead of Bristol, to then being Cheshire, Manchester, Gladiators, Plymouth. Sheffield's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see who their new guy is. And just that's my question mark on Newcastle is now. I just think they've got too many guys who want to be players, and I don't know how that works. So I think there are levels, and I think London are truly out on their own, especially with the amount of games they've got in hand. But everyone else, I think, will take games off each other now.
Can we go London, Leicester, VJ King, then everyone else?
And I don't think I can disagree with that. I think VJ King is the match winner for them.
Looking at the next 5 games, both teams have got, winnable run. Flyers, obviously a lot of games on the road now. They've still got 2 home games against the Eagles coming up. So they've got Sharks away, Eagles at home, Gladiators away, Patriots away, and Eagles at home. With the best will in the world, that is 5 winnable games. Caledonia probably, you said about anything, but Caledonia probably stands out as the more tricky banana peel type game of that, depending on what version of the Gladiators turns up that day. And then looking at the Riders, if we think the Phoenix are good value for their money, they've got the Phoenix twice home and away, Scorchers, Giants and Lions. So looking at that, I would say of the next 5 games, there's kind of more potential for the Flyers to pick up more points than the Riders, if we're saying if we're looking at that at face value.
And it could be those Cheshire games.
Yep. Scorchers have started to turn things around. They're not laying down for teams now, and they've got quite a deep squad. Giants have just shown another overtime game against the Riders, so they can push them. And obviously the Lions,
It's also mad to think we just had an MVP discussion without Ramon being mentioned.
I resisted. I had him written down. I thought I wouldn't say it. It's too obvious.
The way the league is going and how the bottom 2 are getting better, I still think Newcastle and Surrey will have a big say in who finishes 2nd and 3rd.
Well, there you go. If they do, it looks like the Flyers. We'll see. We'll see as things unfold. But I think the Flyers and the Riders are on par this season. And I know traditionally the Riders, we're used to seeing them up there. We're not used to seeing the Flyers up there. But the question that keeps rearing its ugly head is, are the Flyers legit? And I think, yes, we're halfway through the season now. Like, they've played 19 games. They're legit. They're And what's impressive with them is they look like they're having slumps, and then suddenly they'll turn around and beat the Riders, and then they'll drop a game against somebody else, and they'll turn around and beat, the Lions. They're one of the 2 teams that beat the Lions this year. So I think they've earned their spot at the moment up there to say that Lions are up there on their own and the Flyers and the Riders are in that next sort of conversation. Phoenix could put themselves in that conversation over their next 5 games. You know, they've got the Riders twice. We'll see how that goes. Ads, my man, do you bother with the tier system, or are you just?
I don't. No, I don't. But if I must be drawn into it, Lions, Riders, 3 to 8, and then 9 and 10.
3 to 8.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And then 9 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
So you do you? How do you? I didn't ask you. Obviously, I said I don't feel confident about my prediction. Do you feel confident about yours? That Eagles and Scorchers will miss the playoffs?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel very confident now. I just end off. The end.
Okay. Well, good. Let's
Man
move
knows
on.
what he wants.
Yeah, he certainly does. Let's move on to the final topic, which is off of a article Daily Mail Online, which spoke of the London Lions' achievements in Europe, using the word history in the title, which is fine, but then only really referred to the Guildford Heat, who obviously in the similar competition, it was the ULEB, what was the precursor for Euro Cup, and obviously they're referring to what the Lions are doing, and I get it. You know, they're kind of creating a new chapter, if you like. I wouldn't say they're rewriting history, because obviously this, in terms of tiers of European competitions, this isn't the top tier, and we've had clubs play in the top tier, and we've had clubs, well, Kingston Kings do well in the top tier, you know, qualify for the Elite Eight and take some pretty big scalps. And Brighton Bears, prior to the Guildford Heat, obviously beat Split Croatia, beat Ritas as well, in what was the ULEB Cup and the forerunner to the Euro Cup. So, but it then became, in our group chat particularly, became a kind of more of a discussion on none of that shit matters. You know, history doesn't matter. Why are we comparing? Why are we looking back? I just wanted to get you guys. It's clear what my input is on it. Ads, I'm interested on what your input is on it. Does the history of this game matter? Do things like that matter?
I think it's always important to know the history and the heritage of the game and know where it came from here, who brought it to the place it's now in. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, really. You know, it's that whole thing in it. It's where you're at now and going forward that's the important bit. So no, it's just not that important, really.
Well, do you think Jeff Jones thinks it matters? Because obviously they had a great Cup Winners' Cup run in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, the trouble with it is it's like, it is a bit of a lazy article from...
That's what my mum calls me.
Yeah, and mine. Because there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, obviously, Scottish basketball, you know, deserves a mention and all that kind of stuff too. I mean, funnily enough, I was talking to Trez at the game the other night about his time at Oldham Celtics, and they were in Europe at one point. You know, so it's just that thing where it's like, it's important to us, but not to the generation that they're now trying to attract, I think is the way I put it.
Grant, my man, you're one of the generations that they're trying to attract.
Am I? I think it's two things. I don't think you can ever wipe out history or change history to suit a future narrative. I think this sport and this country, we like to bring up history. We like to talk about the past because we have good and bad memories of it. There's a really good, I don't know if anyone saw that documentary called Make It Rain, a Scottish basketball story that was on Sky Sports a couple of years back. And it really told actually how influential basketball in Scotland was and how big it was and how there was Europe and obviously the journey of like Rob Archibald and and I think we can't ever forget that because it's such an important part of the makeup of this sport, and I don't think teams from Britain have competed in European basketball for so many years. And actually, in recent years, it has been pretty bad. Like, it used to be quite a traditional thing that teams competed up to probably way before my time. So the comparison to Guildford as probably being the team before London makes sense because it's in a recent time for a lot of people. For what they want to make the sport, they want to try and obviously set a narrative of going forward, then that works as well. Like, I think for me, I look from it from a Scottish point of view and I see what the Gladiators are wanting to try and do, and obviously a similar situation that we talked about last week about identity. Like the club, in my opinion, and most people, it's the same club just with a new name and a different direction with new owners, and it's a brilliant place to be and what prospect to have. But that's not forget, like, it's still, as I said last week, Ted Berry jerseys hanging up on the wall.
Yeah,
McLean, Sterling Davis, Gareth Murray, Kieran Achara, guys who are all big players in the history of the club that I support. Still, okay, it's underneath that new family name of the Gladiators, but still very much part of the old and the new and the future.
Nicholson?
Does history matter? Yes, because everything that's happened in the past is created where we are now with basketball. Whether that's positive or negative, it's where we are because of stuff that's happened before us. Does it matter in that article? Probably not, because if you start putting a history into that article, it then becomes a very long read.
Don't put it in the fucking title then.
Right? A very long read. It depends where the articles come from, right? Has it come from the London Press Office? Has it come from the Mail or whoever it was, right? Because the articles are always there to serve a purpose. They're not there just because, we want to write about this. They're never there for that reason. They need to serve a purpose. So they're trying to attract something new, some people to games, to generate people wanting to read it a little bit more. And you got to make it quick. You got to make it snappy. So you're going to talk about how great you are, and you're just going to compare yourself to, like Grant said, the last team. I think history matters, and I think we should celebrate history all the time. But I just feel in that article, it would have been good to mention it, just to pay homage. But I don't think it was hugely important on what they were trying to achieve with the article, if that makes sense.
I also think it's worth noting, the league keeps talking about wanting to create stories and dialogue and whatever else, and that comes with history. We can make up stories that haven't happened, like rivalries, players' experience, where they've been before, all part of a history of the game. And what, like Ramon's story about being at Newcastle for so long, now at Manchester, that's history. Ramon's a league winner and an MVP whilst in Newcastle. Okay, that's more recent examples, but it's still a huge part of the narrative and the story that unfolds.
I don't know. Like you said, Grant, there was a period of time when it was the norm. That was it. Every season we had European representation. There was a European tournament that used to be held prior to the BBL being started. Which I can't remember if it was Palace it was held out or if it was Wembley, but there was like a knockout cup with some of the top teams in Europe. We've had Livingston, Manchester Eagles, Livingston, Birmingham Bullets, all in the Korak Cup, which I think loosely kind of became the Cup Winners' Cup, or actually they may have run side by side, but Livingston one year drew Split Croatia, who at the time had Dino Radja and Tony Kukoc playing for him, who were two big NBA teams. And
if you talk to Jeff, he played for Man United against the team with Drazen Petrovic on it.
That's right. They beat him as well, I think.
They beat him, yeah. I mean, look at the British version of Malice at the Palace. What game is it, Pabs? The legendary one where it snowed at Crystal Palace.
The snow game. Yeah, that was amazing. They beat Aris Thessaloniki. I go bang on about it quite regularly.
That's it. Yeah.
Double overtime thriller. Last shot at the buzzer from Matt Cunningham, who hadn't touched the ball the whole game.
guys having coins thrown at their heads.
Oh, mate. Yeah. Do you know what's funny in that game? I didn't realise that the coins were thrown early on due to referee decisions that they didn't like. I thought it was as a result of Trevor Gordon when he elbow dropped the opposing centre, which he basically just swung an elbow at him, and then he looked around and Lorenzo Duncan had been hit by a coin. But yeah, nah.
I think all that stuff is really important, and I think there's a different subject here. I think it needs to be celebrated somehow. Like Hall of Fame type situation. Clubs need to maybe celebrate their history a little bit more, and
more classic games.
That's a bigger subject. I just feel that I can see the narrative of what they're trying to do with the article. It's like, right, we need a quick hit, so someone's going to read that, pay attention, never been to a game before, and then they'll get hooked on a game. And then once you're hooked on a game, you'll naturally go and explore the history the more you learn the game and everything else. I think it's really hard to throw history at someone if they've never even seen what it's like now.
I'd agree with that.
I don't know. I'd if a part of me would say just leave the history out of it if you're gonna, just refer to what the Lions are doing now. You kind of don't touch on a team that had a season in the ULEB and weren't very successful in it. If you're going to bother to look back that far, go back a little bit further, and you get a team that got a few wins. Go back a bit further than that, and you get a team that progressed.
It's like for me. It's like Nicholson just said there.
I get what you're saying.
It's
totally,
a good article to give an injection of interest into the sport and to throw some interesting things out. I mean, I couldn't believe watching some of the video footage of the crowd at the game in London last week.
Oh, it was mad, wasn't it?
It was crazy, man. It looked like a European football match or something.
Yeah, 100%. Looked amazing.
Yeah.
And all the Lions fans looking at the away fans, not watching the game. Some of them looking across in fear. Some shirtless lunatics are standing at the front, literally not watching the game, conducting the rest of the fans. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. It's the sort of role I could imagine Josh Bett having in his fan days. Standing at the front, shirt off, not watching the game, just orchestrating the fans.
He's too corporate now with his fancy suits.
He's upgraded from TK Maxx now, hasn't he?
Yeah,
right, fellas.
He's now in Marks and Spencer's.
Moss Bros. Let's do a quick BTR 5 because we've got some predictions to do, and then we'll sign things off. Give me some names for BTR 5. The four names I've written down are Bailey, Ramon, Green, and Mark Lovin. Sorry. Anyone else? I need an extra one, or you need to,
I'm chucking in.
Not Antonio Williams. You can't have him. Go on.
I'm chucking Wang into the equation.
Yeah, good numbers. Was it 18 and 8? Yeah.
But he was the difference, mate. He sparked the injection in the fourth quarter, which really got the game going on Surrey's side.
Any additions to that? Ads, my man? Your man's in there.
Zach Jackson.
Jackson.
I was going to say. He was going to be my next guy.
I'm not going anyone from Cheshire. Not going anyone from Sheffield. Not going anyone from Derby. Just no. What about Green?
Yeah,
I had him. I read him out. Yeah.
Oh, did you? My bad. My bad. I wasn't listening to you.
Good. That happens a lot.
So what we got? We got Lovin, Green, Wang,
Bailey.
Who's the fifth?
Bailey, Ramon, Green, McLovin, Wang, and Jackson potentially. Ramon Fletcher was outstanding.
Yeah, but would you? I think he was. But would you go Ramon over Whelan? He was 20 and 10 and 3.
Yes.
What? Ramon, it was 13 and 4. Oh, he's 14.
And 14 assists, and the game tying shot. And of the last 6 to 8 points, he either assisted or scored in that fourth quarter.
And you'd go with that over Zach Jackson, who was 25, 6 and 6?
No, maybe I'd for Zach Jackson, but I'd take Wang out.
Okay.
But it's not just me, it's you guys.
I want Wang in there.
Oh, sorry. Go on. No, it's getting late.
I know it's getting late.
He was a difference maker.
I'm going to clip that. It's going to be my ringtone. I want Wang in there. Fantastic.
That's going to be my ringtone for Nicholson now.
Good job, I never phoned you.
Yeah, well, when I get a text message.
Do you guys even use ringtones?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but I still
Cheeky
purchase
bastard.
mine from the Radio Times.
I want Bailey,
Yep.
Loving. I think I want Jackson. Who did we say? Taj Green, and I think I might need to take 3 Leicester players and put Whelan in there as well for me. But then I also want to give a shout out another kind of BTR 5 to someone like a Johnny Bunyan or a Fraser Malcolm or sorry, I'm just looking at a stat here of who ended up with an index of 27. Patrick Tapé, 17 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, index of 27. He's kind of just gone about his business, and none of us have spoke about him.
No, true. He had a great game as well. He had a huge
Do whatever
throwdown.
you got to do, but if you don't pick Wang, I'm rioting.
Well, let's not pick Wang then. I'm changing my mind. I'm going Loving, Bailey, Tappy, Green, and Fletch. No, not Fletch. Jackson instead of Fletch.
Ads? Hang on. Do yours again. Bailey, Lovin, Tape, Jackson, and Green.
Green.
Ads, my man.
I'm trading Tape for Whelan.
Oh, you just added another one. Whelan. So you want Bailey, Lovin, Jackson, Green, and Whelan.
No, because I want Fletch in there as well.
Who you taking out of that? Just do yours then.
Who was? Wait a minute. Let me take out Wang.
Whoa!
You didn't have Wang. You didn't choose
Don't
Wang.
touch Wang.
The 5: Bailey, Lovin, Jackson, Green, Whelan. So you got to take one of them out for Ramon.
Bailey.
Oh!
Wow.
Nicholson, your definitive 5.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have a 5 from this.
Wang. Green. McLovin. Whelan.
Oh, hang on. Yeah.
And Bailey.
Right. Bailey's definitely in. So I'll start committing this to the document. There's going to be an award at the end of the season for this, by the way. Bailey's definitely in. Taj Green definitely in. And then we're stuck. Definitely out is Wang. I'm afraid you're the only one who wanted that one.
Mate, I don't do this very often on a podcast, but that's bullshit.
Tape is definitely out as well because he's only got one.
Next week.
So we're down to
About 6 guys for 3 positions.
no. We've got 3 positions. That's it. Jackson, Ramon, and Whelan.
Ludicrous.
6. No, I've missed someone out. Who have I missed out? Oh, Mark
Wang.
Lovin. So, Mark Lovin's definitely in. Right, 3 players for 2 positions. Oh, no, it's not. I apologise for that. Jackson only got 1. So it's Ramon and Whelan. Good. So I read that out, so as we all know. In case I test you on it later in the year. BTR 5, Bailey, Green, Lovin, Ramon, and Whelan. We're going to go and come back and do some predictions. It's that time of the evening for us to tackle once again the predictions. No one's had to mail any in this week, which is good, which means I have to click the buttons a lot less, which is always useful. I will need live stats loaded up. Let's have a look at last week. So there weren't any surprises, I don't think, necessarily in the trade. Doesn't mean we didn't predict Zag on the predictions, but so Lions took their game quite convincingly, although it was quite entertaining. I did enjoy it. Flyers went out to the Scorchers, so we all dropped a bollock on that one. Gladiators obviously beat the Eagles. Blazers beat Wales. Sharks got the win. Was that against the Cavs? Or was that the Hoods?
No.
Sheffield beat Thames Valley Cavaliers.
Yeah, Cav, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Grant picked up although it was squeaky bum time there for Grant, I think, as it went to overtime.
I've never got so invested in a Kimball McKenzie shot.
So that puts Grant back in the lead, I think, this week. Let's just total things up. So Nicholson.
No, I think Nicholson's ahead by 1.
56 for Nicholson. Grant. Yeah, you're right. 55 for Grant. Ads. 49. And I've gone to 53. So it's all to... Oh, I put 52 in there. Let's change that. It's all to play for, which I think I say every week. No chance of I or Josh catching us up now. They're still on 6 and 5 points, respectively. But they're never here to put in their predictions, and they don't put them in the group chat. So, never mind.
Lose, you lose.
Well, Loser was going to do a dare or something, weren't they? So, yeah, it looks like Josh at the moment. And he should be listening to this, so good man. January 20th are the next fixtures. 20th and the 22nd we'll go for.
Ooh, a lot of games.
And there's quite a few games, isn't there? All league games. We're back to full league fixture over the weekend. Starting with the Newcastle Eagles at home, Manchester Giants visiting. Ads, my man. It's going to be Giants, isn't it?
I'd say Giants.
Oh, crap. I just put an emoji in there. I didn't mean to do that. I'll go Giants as well. Does anybody think... Is anybody a zag from these two... The two leaders of the pack right now? Grant, my man, are you zagging?
Staring down Nicholson to see what's he going to do. Nah. Newcastle at home. Hey, Newcastle at home are tough. You know what? I'm going Newcastle.
He is going to zag. Or is it a zag?
I am definitely going Giants.
Were you going to go choose Newcastle if I said Giants?
No, I wouldn't have. No way. I'm not. That's not what I'm zagging on.
Scorchers next up at home. Lions visiting. Are we all going Lions across the board? Yay or nay? Because I'll just copy and paste.
Happy with
that. Caledonia Gladiators at home. The Plymouth City Patriots will be visiting. Ads, we'll leave them till last. Who are you going for? Gladiators at home. Pats on the road.
Gladiators, just because you're at a bit of an in-betweener type stage at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad as well. We'll see the new boys get in there, but I don't think quite yet. Grant, my man?
I think Paul's more annoyed about your choice there than he was about the lack of wine.
Well, I need to catch up with you lot. And, you know.
Yeah, I'm going Glads.
Nicholson?
New kids on the block, mate. They'll be just fine. And they'll surprise Gladiators.
But have they got the right stuff?
New kids on the block.
Gladiators will struggle with the scouting report. And
sorry, Leicester Riders.
Pats win, obviously. Yeah,
obviously. Well, I hope I'm wrong, but obviously I don't think I will be. Leicester Riders. Is that the Sky game? 7:45 tips normally the Sky game, isn't it? Leicester Riders at home, Cheshire Phoenix, the visitors. Is that a potential banana? I'm going to go Knicks on that one. I'll go first. Ads, my man.
Sorry, which game?
Riders, Knicks.
Riders.
The Riders are at home. Nicholson?
Riders.
Grant?
Yeah, Raiders for me.
Well, that's a zag from me. Exciting times. Just wonder if they're going to piss about with a few things before the cup final. Try and double bluff the Lions. Sharks, the last game on the 20th is Sharks at home. Bristol Flyers, the visitors Sharks, need to start putting some wins together or they're going to get caught by the Eagles. This is a tough one to call. Let's go Nicholson first because he made a noise.
Yeah, it's going to be that typical Spider-Man meme on Twitter, the Delpech Derby. Oh, Jesus.
Is that what Mike Tuck's tweeting out for that game? You just decided that already?
Yeah, I'm telling you now, that's what's going to go out. It's going to be the Spider-Man meme and then pointing at each other. Then Sheffield will be like, the Delpech Derby. And every year. So anyway.
The Sheffield accent sounds a lot similar to the Bristol accent.
It will be Bristol win.
Flyers potentially win on the road. Grant, my man.
Yeah, Bristol.
Oh, damn, Sheffield. I just looked at who they got next as well.
Ads, mate.
Bristol.
Yeah, I'm not zagging on this one. Flyers. It's interesting to see how the Sharks will hopefully turn things around. Oh no. January 22nd, Lions at home. Sharks, the visitors. This could be a proper shitty weekend for the Sharks. Are we all going Lions on this, by the way?
Yeah, I'm happy with Lions. It's good to see on the Friday night all the teams are playing. That's not happened often.
No, you're absolutely right. Not often enough. Bristol Flyers at home then to the Newcastle Eagles. Grant, my man.
Bristol.
Ads?
Bristol.
I'll go Flyers as well. Nicholson, you going to zag? Tempting him to zag, making him go last. Can the Eagles do it on the road in the walled gym?
Do you know what? I'm going to zag. I could see the headlines now of Bristol losing to Surrey, then losing to Newcastle. I'm zagging.
Well, does that knock him out of the second tier with the Riders? I think it probably would, wouldn't it? Cheshire Phoenix in the last game that we're going to debate for now. Cheshire Phoenix at home. Manchester Giants, the visitors. It's the North Derby. Grant, my man, you can go first this time.
What do I think? Who's playing? What game is it?
Knicks
Chester
or
versus
Giants?
Manchester. You said North Derby and I got very confused.
Not the North. Not Kings of the North.
Oh, okay, I got confused. I was like, we're not playing Sunday. That's such a tough game to call.
Isn't it? On the road, Knicks at home. Jamel Anderson wanted some retribution. Will Neighbour wanted some
I'm actually annoyed
retribution.
you passed me first because this is what I think whatever I say could easily be the opposite.
I agree.
I know. I'm going to call, you know what, it's going to be a bad weekend for Cheshire. They're going to lose to Leicester and they're going to lose to Manchester.
No Giants. Ads, my man.
Giants.
Nicholson.
Giants.
Then I feel really good about zagging because I'm the only one. Knicks. Come on, Knicks. To double win for them. To put them in the conversation with Leicester and Bristol. That'll do it, I think. I think we've covered all bases. And some we didn't have to cover probably as well. Fellas, it's been emotional. Thanks for coming on. Ads, anything to say before we go? Anything to plug?
Yeah, this weekend at Bellevue, it is National Cup Finals weekend.
Ah, yes.
Perhaps who won the big game last week?
Oh, the big game. You never told us about it.
Uh,
Oh, not good then.
Okay, doesn't matter then.
Mystics 1 came out on top, unfortunately. Mystics 2, though, played like absolute warriors.
Was it close? There's only a couple of points in it last time, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think it was about 25 points, something like that. But it's one of them where the score meant nothing. It was what went on the court, one of them games. So, yeah. But this weekend, it's National Cup Finals weekend. You can join me and Kaz all day on Saturday. 4 games, under 16s and under 18s, boys and girls finals. And then Sunday, Jason Swain, I believe, will be joining John Hobbs, I think. And
that's going to be interesting because he likes to talk, doesn't he? Jason Swain. I like it. I do like it.
Jay's doing great, I mean, he did a college game in the States recently.
Yeah, good on him.
His kids' game, and he's been doing a bit on the European side. He's got really good. Fair play to Jason.
Good man. Grant, my man, anything to add?
Oh, I've always something going on, eh? I had a really good podcast, if anyone's listened to it, Kel Jimenez, kind of talking about obviously the different route he took to being a pro, which was pretty cool. Going through kind of the English system, from being a kid from Scotland as well, was pretty good. So hopefully, if you've listened to that and enjoyed it, but if you've not, check it out. And before we started recording, hey, No Rest for the Wicked, I recorded with Jeremiah Bailey.
Hooray.
So an episode on the Gladcast coming up any day as well. So
wicked.
Yeah, no rest. Let's go.
Nice, good stuff, Mr. Nicholson, sir.
Yeah. So obviously this pod's going to be out on your birthday, Pablo.
Yeah, it will be. That's right.
So I've got if hopefully you can hear this, turn your volume up, mate. I've got a little message for you.
Have you?
From a friend of mine. Yeah. You ready?
I'm ready.
Pablo, my guy, I want to say happy birthday. Hope you have a wonderful day. And want to say continue with the great success of the podcast. I appreciate everything you and the guys are doing, spreading the word and spreading the BBL basketball. Thank you. Happy birthday, my guy.
Fuck off. Where'd you get that? That's amazing.
I wish we had your video working, Pat.
That, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't realise, was Ramon Fletcher.
Oh, that's amazing.
Did you just get that done now?
Yeah, he just sent it to me.
Oh, no way.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Oh, you need to send me that. That's going on my... I'm tweeting that out. That's incredible.
I wish I could see your face right now, Pabs.
Yeah, my camera's knackered.
Bless his little cotton socks. And I'm talking about Pabs here.
Ladies and gents, Pabs is speechless.
What a legend. Right, with all due respect, because I know he listens to the podcast, what a legend.
That's amazing.
What a legend.
Ramon, I am loving having Fletcher in Manchester because he is just an absolute dude. An absolute dude. And even after a tough game last night, he's got time for all the fans, signs autographs, does pictures. And then he does things like that, and it just makes you feel good about life. God bless you, Fletch.
Legend. Proper legend. That's made my fucking year, that has.
The missus has got a lot to make up now, doesn't she?
That's amazing. Good stuff. I'm a bit speechless now.
I should have had him close the show as well. Maybe that's
Good.
Pushing it a bit.
That's cool. That is really cool. Thank you very much. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say now. Oh, yeah, I won a competition today.
Biggest Chuffy Badge of the Day award.
No, I tweeted, you get those things. It was Hooping and Looting put a thing out saying like and retweet.
You won the Bristol shorts.
No, I won a £25 voucher to use on Hooping and Looting site. I might buy a Bristol jersey though.
Hey, at least you got more chance getting a Bristol stuff then than you are Plymouth then.
Well, I'll introduce you. I'll introduce you to Elliot at the final then, because he'll be there.
Yeah, it wasn't he courtside in the Bristol game with a Kobe jersey on.
He was courtside. Like he lives in Manchester, Elliot. Even though he's a London boy.
Is it? No, it was the Giants game. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite funny when Bristol played though, because he was sat there courtside and he's sort of going, Elliot, what are you saying then? You're a big Giants fan, but Bristol have H&L all over their backsides.
I really want the warm-up jersey, but I can't find it. I really like that warm-up jersey in Bristol with the cool graphics. But yeah, I will be spending my £25. Thank you to them. I was chuffed to bits with that.
Yeah, good lad, Elliot. He's at every Giants game, and he chucks out a lot of jerseys into the crowd, does competitions for kids, and all.
Maybe one day he'll come to Plymouth.
Has he not been to Plymouth?
Never. I asked him once.
Did you?
I'll get in his ear.
Oh mate, he's got like Luka Doncic t-shirts and stuff.
Hey, well,
like
if he comes down, we're looking after him.
No, he'll be there.
Taking the brew dog for a burger.
Space Jam t-shirt. Larry Bird, Boston Celtics champions jersey. That's awesome.
Perhaps we're not here for your shopping list, mate.
Sorry.
We're still recording, Pabs.
Yeah, that's a classic Celtics jersey as well with the... Yeah, right, sorry. Okay.
He's got all the gear.
It's nice. It's very nice.
It's quality.
Get yourself down to Plymouth, my friend. We will show you how it's done.
Got a nice setup over in Manchester City Centre, and a lot
Good
of stuff.
Well, there you go. There you are. That'll do it from us then. Yeah. Thanks, Ramon. Till next week. Take it easy. We'll speak to you soon.
Now, it doesn't make much sense. There ought to be law against anyone who takes offense at a day in your celebration. 'Cause we all know in our minds that there ought to be a time that we can set aside to show just how much we love you. And I'm sure you would agree, what could fit more perfectly than to have a world party on the day you came to be. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I just never understood how a man who died for good could not have a David Wood. He said, aside for his recognition, because it should never be just because some cannot see. The dream is clear as he, that they should make it become an illusion. And we all know everything that each different time will bring. Or in peace our heart will sing, thanks to Martin Luther King. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Why has there never been a holiday? Yeah. Where peace is celebrated all throughout the world. Time is overdue for people like me and you who know the way true is love and unity to all of God's children. Should be afraid of it, and the whole day should be spent and for remembrance of those who lived and died for the oneness of all people. So let us all begin. We know that love can win. Let it out, don't hold it in. Say it loud as you can. Happy birthday to love that lives in all of the hearts of people. Believe in you. We'll make the dream become a reality. I know we will. Because our hearts tell us so.